The economy is projected to grow by 5.3% at the end of December 2015. Growth expected to be widespread. The International Monetary Fund, in its latest forecast, World Economic Outlook, has projected Guyana economy to grow by 3.8%, the third highest in South America, behind Bolivia, 4.3%, and Paraguay, 4%. The IMF projected growth of 4.4% in 2016, second only to Peru, whose economy is projected to grow by 5%. These are the facts. This is the economy we inherited. The outlook for Guyana. Mr. Speaker, apparently the outlook for Guyana suddenly changed. Has suddenly changed. Based on all the indicators, the economy is contracting, and the growth targets will have to be adjusted downwards. Why? Why, Mr. Speaker? Why? After 2 months in government, the government has not come off of its rhetoric. Investors are losing confidence. Investors are losing confidence. They are losing confidence. Understand, Mr. Speaker, the government needs to understand that confidence plays an important and integral role in attracting investors and people in our country. Mr. Speaker, only yesterday, Starbuck News carried an article which reports that all the major construction work in Region 4 will be postponed until next year. For those who have doubts, you may read the article caption, Region 4 major capital work postponed until next year. How are you going to build and expand the economy when you're contracting even expenditure in the government sector? What confidence are you sending? What confidence are you sending to the private sector, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we have heard a lot. We have heard a lot about rice and the plight faced by the rice farmers. We always told the truth to the rice farmers. We always told the truth to the rice farmers. Mr. Speaker, we never promised 9,000 per bag. We never promised 9,000 per bag. Mr. Speaker, I call on this government to deliver to the rice farmers immediately. Mr. Speaker, and if the government do not want to deliver the 9,000 per bag, I am calling on this government to deliver to the rice farmers the $23 billion in the national budget. I am calling on that. Mr. Speaker, the question is, where is the $23 billion? Where is it? But Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Finance believes that we don't know where, but we will call him out. Because I will say to the Honorable Member that we are putting him on guard. Should the negotiations for the avenue through which they're expecting this deal fall through, we are going to hold the government accountable in providing that $23 billion. You will have to take, Mr. Speaker, you will have to take it out the consolidated fund and give it to the rice farmers. Because we're going to hold you accountable. You announce it. Mr. Speaker, in addition to this, Mr. Speaker, in addition to this, we call on the government to immediately establish a national paddy price support system. We ask the government to maintain production above 600,000 tons and to have markets where you said in the campaign, we will deliver higher paying markets and better markets. We are asking the government to deliver to the rice farmers the higher paying and better markets for 500,000 tons of rice ready to be exported. Mr. Speaker, we work on a programmatic approach dealing with rice. We expanded our export to more than 32 countries. And we have plans in place to further expand that to more than 40 countries. We further ask the government to continue to improve paddy yields to 40 bags per acre. We ask the government to encourage value added. Do not look at agricultural diversification in a narrow way. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member spoke about agricultural diversification. And the Honourable Minister of Business has sought it fit to stop two important projects in two predominantly rice-growing areas, Wakenham and Legwan, in which we are trying to have the farmers expand into new areas of planting production. And Mr. Speaker, when we announced this project, we were in government, and the then opposition were critical of this project. Only a few months ago, the Canadians had an advertisement in the newspaper for $100 million of support for the planting industry. $100 million of support for the planting industry. We are talking about agriculture. The same thing, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about the cereal plant in Essequibo, they were critical of it. Today in the budget is a grand announcement. We will build cereal plants and utilize this as one aspect. We're building it first in Essequibo. You've inherited that. Mr. Speaker, if you look at infrastructure, $13 billion. And Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance said this government is announcing fresh projects. And he announced $13 billion for the East Coast Highway, the Sherry Street expansion, Mandela Bypass Road, over to Diamond, Western Marara Highway. Mr. Speaker, these are all PPP civic projects. All of it was conceptualized and negotiated under the PPPC. Mr. Speaker, much of it was delayed by the then opposition in the last 3 years. Mr. Speaker, the same can be said about the maternity wing of the Georgetown Hospital. The Honourable Minister announced we're going to expand the maternity wing by 100 beds. This project has even started. It has started a year ago under the PPP civic government. Nothing fresh, nothing new. Mr. Speaker, we ask that this government immediately reinstate the subsidies enjoyed by pensioners totaling 500 million. Immediately implement your plan on reducing the Berbice River crossing by $1,200. Immediately fulfill your 20% increase in salary retroactive from January 2014. Mr. Speaker, we ask this government to immediately fulfill their campaign promise by doubling the old age pension. That was supposed to be done in your 100 days. We asked this government to immediately review electricity tariff, taking into consideration the reduction of gas price. We asked this government to immediately commence the construction of a new 100-bed hospital at the East Bank, expansion of a 100-bed at the East Bank Regional Hospital, and 2 new hospitals in Fort Kaychuma and Region A. Mr. Speaker, if we want a transformed economy, complete the following projects: the Almeida Falls Hydro, Deepwater Harbor, New Damara Bridge, the airport, the quarantine bridge to Suriname, Lethem Brazil Road Corridor,
Honourable Member,
the East Bank Road Corridor.
Honourable Member, you have 10 minutes more.
The East Bank Road Corridor, the East Coast Road Corridor, the Hospitality Institute, the call centers in Enmore and Tushen, the chip factory, and the specialized hospital. If you want transformation, if you want Guyana to be transformed, we call upon you to complete these projects. Mr. Speaker, at a minimum, we call upon this government to make available to the Minister of Agriculture, Gaisuku, $20 billion for the modernization and expansion of the sugar industry. With the aim of taking production to 400,000 tons and increasing packaged sugar to 50,000 tons. Mr. Speaker, to expand the economy, bring confidence, and create new opportunity, we ask the government to establish free zones in particular regions to encourage industrial development and trade. Mr. Speaker,